Hi, my name is Jim Britt. I've written several books and created a number of programs on being a successful entrepreneur. I'm also a high school dropout who worked in a factory for $1.67 an hour. Then one day somebody introduced me to the idea of being an entrepreneur. I took the leap, and now 40 years later, I live in a beautiful home on several acres at the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. I awaken to the relaxing sounds of wildlife right outside my door. On a warm day, I might even take time to hang with the family by our swimming pool. And when I need to travel, I always travel first class. Other than my first year of learning how to think and act like an entrepreneur, I've never had a problem making money, and lots of it. Now, a few years ago, when the economy started to tank, I watched people lose their jobs and businesses close their doors forever. I wondered why more people didn't start thinking like an entrepreneur and take advantage of the thousands of opportunities that I and my colleagues see daily. Is it the fear of something new? Or I began to wonder, am I somehow different? Maybe I just got lucky and learned a mysterious secret that has made me rich, while that secret remained hidden from everybody else. So I set out to find out if there's other successful entrepreneurs, self-made millionaires who started out with nothing, just like me. I wanted to learn why some people succeed as entrepreneurs and 90% of the population never even try. What were their secrets to success? Do they have unique skills or talents that nobody else has? Now, I made it a point of finding successful entrepreneurs in a variety of fields, like internet marketing, TV, real estate, traditional brick and mortar businesses, and social media, and they varied in age range from the 20s to the 60s. I talked to young internet gurus and people who have started and sold dozens of companies, each for millions of dollars. And I was determined to see if there was anything special about this group. And what I discovered was both shocking and exciting. They are no different from you and me, except that they think in a certain way. Now, what was most exciting was that I was able to boil down their secrets into 6 common traits. Now, I know now that anyone can learn these traits, and by just putting your mind to it, you can succeed as an entrepreneur. And I've extracted 2 brief clips from my interviews with these people. One person started with a borrowed $13,000 and turned that into $3.5 billion. The other started with $1,000 and turned that into a $5 billion real estate empire. That won her the starring role on the hit show Shark Tank. I hope you enjoy these 2 clips.
How do you talk to yourself internally when you either receive negativity or you, quote, mess up and do something wrong? What's the dialogue that you say to yourself in your head sometimes?
Well, I have to tell you, I don't think I'm a good example of that because I still have negative dialogue in my head.
So are you like, what was I thinking? Or
Well, it's like a two-way conversation. Well, when you accomplish getting over it, you can say, what was I thinking? Well, you know what I think it is? I think I have this negative dialogue often in my head when I'm insecure, and especially if it taps into what you were most insecure about as a young person. When it gets close to the bone like that, it gets very scary.
Like what?
Like for me, like for example, I just came from 2 days of shooting in LA for the Shark Tank. I'm with 4 powerful men that speak loudly, that are multi-million billionaires. They don't have, maybe some have more money than me, maybe some don't. They have more success than me. No, I'm just as successful. I have the right to be there. I'm just as strong as them, yet I'm sitting there half the time I'm filming for 12 hours days, scared to death that what I have to say or what I'm assessing isn't good enough. That kind of talk is disastrous. It gets in my way. But how do I get through that? I have not gotten good at shaking negative thought from my head when I'm scared, because that's tapping into me being back at school, being the dyslexic dunce in the class, never having the answer, stumbling when I'm reading out loud, being embarrassed and mortified in front of the kids, and it all comes back to me like it was yesterday. Why should that bother me? It's ridiculous. I know it logically, but here I am being that little needy, crying kid inside, struggling to come up for air. So what gets me through that? In answer to your question, I'm sorry to go so long
No,
on this.
please. That's why you're
here. What gets me through that is I stay with it. I just persevere. Yeah, and it sounds so trite, doesn't it? Don't quit. I just persevere and stay with it and stay with it. And somewhere along the way, I get an opportunity. I start to shine. Bang, I can steal the show. And wham, I slam it home. I'm not a young baby anymore. I think I have maybe 10, maybe 12 good years left. Think about it. We don't all have a lot of time left. You think I'm going to let those 10, 12 years go by wasting my time on anything? I mean, I felt this way at 22, but why would I waste my time? And certainly I'm not going to waste my time worrying about making money. I never worried about it. My mother never worried about it. Somehow we ate and we got out of there. I remember one time I was going out of business. I was sick with worry. I was nauseous over it because I felt the responsibility of 200 people. I was putting them out of business. And you know what my mother said to me? She said, "You're not worrying about money, are you?" I was indignant. I was probably 35. I said, "I'm worried about money. Of course, you know the responsibility I have." And my mother said to me, "What a total waste of time."
Did that hit you hard?
Hit me hard. I think the waters parted for me. I went back to work the next day and realized the only thing I had control about is to work my ass off through the next day and see what happens. And you want to know something? That's all it is. You just show up and work your ass off and see where you get. She was right. Why was I going to succeed if I was worried about money? It
And
was in
making
the way.
yourself sick over it.
Stupid. Such a false sense of value.
What's the quote? Something about 90% of life
Of
is
success is just showing
That's
up.
right,
But
that's
it
right.
is the truth. It's staying the course, you know. It's staying the course. If there's one thing I'm totally confident about in myself, if there was one trait I'd say is better than any other trait in my body, is I persist. You know,
You
I
do.
just plug, and even that I doubt at times. Again, when I'm in my scared phase and scared circumstances, but I can at least lean back and say to myself, but you always get there. But I self-talk, right? You always get there. And that's what, enables me to stay with it again until I get there.
So for anyone that hasn't experienced that yet, I want them to know right now, maybe the first time you did that, it wasn't as easy. But once you do it once and you succeed, then the third, then the
I'll give you a
500th.
very good example, I think, because sometimes the story demonstrates a point I think best, or for me, I learned. When I gave my first speech, so my first time I stood in front of a crowd, and this is something everyone knows, it's hard to give a speech. Everyone is fearful of speaking. I lost my voice. Not unusual. That happens a lot, I have since found out. I thought I was the only one in the world to ever lose my voice, publicly shamed. It hit on all the chords in me of not being able to read in reading class. It couldn't have been a worse experience. I was like, Here I was, a grown woman in a business suit with somewhat good success at 30 years old, and I was sitting there going, right back to second grade. It was horrifying for me. And yet, you say, okay, fine. I didn't know how to self-cheer myself. I hadn't learned that yet. But you know what? I didn't have to learn it. What I had to do, and the most important thing I did, was I marched my butt over to NYU and I volunteered to teach a course. Why did I do that? I wanted to get over my fear of public speaking. And you know what? In a room of 20 people that all love you because you're in the real estate business and talking about a topic you know, I figured if I shoved myself up there 3 nights a week for 10 weeks in a row, I had to get good at this. So what was the thing there? Learning how to give yourself positive self-talk, or getting off your butt and going right for the eye of the storm? That's how I learned to get good at public speaking. And let me tell you something. You're good at addressing a group of 2 people or 2,000 people. If you can speak well and with confidence, you cannot not be successful. You've got the power. So I'm giving that story simply because I think it's not how you feel. Let me feel myself. Let me cheer myself. Sounds cool. I've never been able to do it. I've cured myself through action. It's about action. I'm ignoring that dragon. I'm going right for the next one, you know? And that's hard to do because it takes bravery. But you know what I find too? Even if you don't have the courage, you find the courage on your way down. I got stuck many, many times where I felt a sense of sadness, like anyone else would judge that I was doing well, but I felt stuck. And that's important, to get rid of that feeling. So I had a little exercise I did. It worked for me, but I'm very organized, you know. I would take my yellow pad out. I like a yellow pad because it feels sunny. You know, it's
So do
legal
I.
to get the extra paper. Okay. I put a line down the middle, and then I put on the one side what I love and the other side what I hate. And I'd write down, I'd think of my job, my family, my friends, my time spent, and I would just free float.
Do you
Write a
do all the
list.
good stuff first?
Oh, definitely. All the
Okay.
good stuff first. Right. Boom, boom. Everybody has no problem what they love.
Right.
I love the beach. I love my son. Sometimes you don't love your husband. He's on the other side. That varied by the day.
Right.
But
Or you
I
might
mean,
love him, but you might not like him
yeah,
that
yeah.
day, right?
But it's really like what in your life you really like to do. Basically, like maybe would be, but I would put what I love. And then the other side, what I hate. Not dislike, but what I hate. I hate that bitchy woman that I have to live with every day at the office. I hate this. I hate that I have to do more outlines. I hate signing the checks. I hate that I put like as though I'm allowed to bitch privately. And then you know what I'd do? I'd make it my business to figure out how to get rid of the what I hate side. And there's always a way. You might get stuck, like if you have a bad kid that you can't get rid of. He's a
Right.
kid.
You're committed on that
good
one.
kids, they are always on that side. But anything short of that, you can get rid of in your life. I found I got empowered by my stupid yellow list. And I have to tell you, I probably did it every 6 months to a year my entire life. I still do it now. Okay? And the list never stays the same, but the what you love almost always stays the same.
There are 6 things that I've noticed successful people have.
Okay.
They always have. Every successful person I've ever met in my whole life, and I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of really successful people, they all have them. And I've not met any successful people that don't have all 6 of them. When you go, that's weird. Isn't that interesting? And here they are. First, you have to think big, because that's part of that whole shooting for the moon thing. Why be
No
mediocre?
magic in little dreams.
Yeah, and it just doesn't get you anywhere. It has about the same risk. Shoot for it. And secondly, you have to believe in yourself. Start today. Just believe, what are you already good at? What can you do? Forget all the things you can't do. There's a whole bunch of them. Get out of there. Think about what you can do and begin to believe better and more about yourself. Thirdly, share the vision. Tell everybody what you want. And some will laugh at you, and that
We're okay with that.
I'm good at that. Actually, I like that. and then there's some that will absolutely help you. And then number 4, you got to get off the couch. You really got to get
Except
off
if
the
you're doing an interview. But other than that,
If you're sitting at an interview here, I think it's okay.
That's
it's
right.
okay.
Got a timeout.
And then you, when you get off the couch, it's just executing. It's saying, okay, I've got this plan, I have this vision, I know what I want, and I'm going to start. I may not be right, I may even make a mistake, but at least I'm going to go do it. And then number 5, you have to focus. Because most people don't. And I say this not being rude, multitasking is multi-stupid. Trying to do more than one thing at a time almost always will lead to calamity. It really will. I cannot think of one successful person ever in the history of man that tried to do 2 things simultaneously. There is not one person that we know of in history that we think of, oh, they did both those things at the same time. No, there are people who have done more than one thing, but they did them one after the other.
I know, because I have to say Da Vinci, art of science, science of art, but he did them
at a
separately. He
time.
focused one
One
at
at
a
a
time.
time.
He certainly didn't dissect a human cadaver while he was painting a portrait. So
No.
disaster.
Exactly. And that's what we have. That's what we have to do. And sort of say, okay, then what am I really wanting to accomplish? That's what I should focus on. The last one, number 6, is never give up. Because no matter how good you think out your plan, no matter how you do all the other things in life, things are going to happen. They just do. And that isn't fair or unfair. It's life. Quit crying, quit complaining, accept it, and say, I'm the only one that can react to what happens to me. And if I sit there and curl up in a ball, or if I stand up, those 2 choices are mine.
Bill, I am dying to hear what you would say to this regarding number 6. For all the people out there listening right now that have things go wrong and failures that they experience, and they say, well, it's not meant to be.
Baloney. No, that's wrong. That's wrong-headed thinking. That's an excuse. That's rationalizing that you maybe were in the wrong place at the wrong time doing the wrong thing, and maybe you even contributed to it. I've contributed to almost every single one of my failures in some way, some significantly, some I was just kind of riding in the car when I went over the cliff, but I was still riding in my car, so I get my own blame for that. Using excuses of, well, it wasn't meant to be, and I'm not good enough, and gee, I guess that isn't the way it's supposed to be for me because I'm this color, I believe in this religion, or I live in this side of
I'm
town.
not that kind of person.
I'm a boy or I'm a girl, or I can't tell the difference. Who cares? Who cares? That's just excuses. So get it out of your head.
So would it be fair to say that you're saying that it's not meant to be, it's just not meant to be easy?
That's a great way of putting it. Thank you. I'll steal that. I'm going to use that from now on.
Feel
and
free.
I'm not going to give you credit for
Feel
it. No, just
free.
kidding.
No, we're kindred spirits.
Yeah,
I'm all
okay,
over it.
yeah.
So I want to ask you, if you could say one thing right now to Kathy, what would it be in regard to the way that she has impacted your life and the way that she is indirectly impacting the lives of everybody listening right now that has been touched by your story?
Let me tell you just a very short vignette about Kathy, and you'll know what the answer is. When I was 17 and she was 14, we'd already dated then for a few years. One night I was driving her to work. At 14, she had a job as a Girl Scout counselor. And I'm driving the car, and it's in Peosta, Iowa. So I'm going to tell you the stretch of the road we're on. I can tell you exactly everything about that event that night. Driving along, and I'm talking, imagine that. And all of a sudden, she's a very quiet, shy, introverted girl, she just yells out, "Stop the car!" And she slaps the dashboard while she's saying that. And I'm looking over at her like, what's wrong with her? Like, you know, the kid's on crack or something. I pull the car over to the side of the road. The tires scrunch up on the gravel. She gets out of the car. She slams the car door. And I still don't have a clue what's going on. I'm like the deer in the headlights staring at her.
It's not good, though.
No, it's bad. And she sticks her head in the passenger side window. She said, "I never want to see you again." And I'm going, what's that?
Way harsh.
Yeah, and she continues, and she said, "I love you. I
Wow.
wanted to spend the rest of my life with you,
Wow.
but I can't stand being around you when you put yourself down." What I didn't know is that I was always using those excuses. It wasn't meant to be. I can't do it. What do you expect from a loser? What do you expect from a high school dropout? What do you expect from blank, blank, blank? And I had 1,000 of them, and I'm exaggerating slightly. I had an excuse for every day of the week. I had an excuse for everything that went wrong in my life. And at 14, she called me out on it.
Hey, well, welcome back. I hope you're now inspired to consider becoming an entrepreneur. It really is the only way left today for the average person to get rich. You know, I heard a mathematics professor explain the odds of winning the lottery. Imagine a 30-foot by 12-foot swimming pool about 4 feet deep. Now imagine that pool being completely filled with M&Ms. There's only one green M&M in the pool, and your job is to find that single M&M. Oh, and you're also blindfolded. Now, I can assure you that becoming rich as an entrepreneur is thousands of times easier. You don't need a lot of money to get started either. All you need is an idea and the willingness to exercise the 6 traits that all successful entrepreneurs have in common. And I want to teach you how to become a successful entrepreneur. I'd like to see you living a life completely free of debt and money worries. And as I said, I set out to interview a bunch of these ultra successful entrepreneurs, and I actually hired a professional TV host to interview 12 of the most successful ones that I could find. Each had to meet 2 criteria. First, they had to have started with nothing. And secondly, they had to have made millions of dollars. The end result is a program I call Cracking the Rich Code. Now, I didn't just record the interviews. I also created a special audio program that is specifically designed to help you let go of any self-imposed limitations that are keeping you from moving forward. And I spent $500,000 in 18 months on a compilation video in which you can meet all 12 of our multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs. When you click on the link below, you'll be instantly transferred to another web page where you can view the compilation video for free. On that page, I'll also explain how you can get your hands on the complete copies of all 12 video interviews, as well as my special audio program on letting go of self-imposed limitations. Now, I believe in being right up front about things, so I'll tell you that although you can watch the compilation video for free, the actual Cracking the Rich Code program and all 12 interviews and my audio program is not free. However, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the cost. My goal was to create something that could help the people who could not afford to pay thousands of dollars for a training course. So I'm going to give you all 12 video interviews, my special audios, and a few surprise bonuses for less than a tenth of that amount. Even my favorite barista at Starbucks bought a copy. Just click on the link below and enjoy the video. And I do hope that you'll also consider buying a copy of Cracking the Rich Code for yourself. You're going to love it. See you on the other side.